Hello, in this video we are going to see Metaobjects for Shopify. Metaobjects let us add additional structured information to a store. Structured information in this case means that unlike Metafields, which let us add information a single field at a time, a Metaobject can have multiple fields, which you can then reference from a Metafield or globally in your code. Also, Metaobjects can have a one-to-many relationship, where a single Metaobject can be referenced by many resources, such as products or collections. This is useful because, for example, if there is information that's shared between three products and you decide to store it in a Metaobject, when that information changes, you only have to change it once, as the products are just storing a reference to the Metaobject but not the data itself, so they are going to use the latest information the next time they have to access it. To better illustrate the idea, here this demo store has a number of snowboards, and let's suppose these snowboards are handmade and we wanted to show who the craftsperson behind each snowboard is. You may think we'll be able to do this with Metafields by creating a simple text metafield called craftsperson, and there we put the name of the person who built it, but that will only work if the only thing we needed to show is their name. What if we also want to show an image and a short bio? In that case, using a metafield becomes more challenging. While it is still possible to do it that way by using a JSON metafield, a Metaobject is a better option for this, as it is more user-friendly because the person filling the data doesn't need to be familiar with the JSON syntax. And also, Metaobjects support the one-to-many relationship I just described, which works well for this example because a single craftsperson could be responsible for one or more snowboards. This same idea could also be interpolated to a bookstore, for example, where each book has their author, and an author can have name, bio, photo, and any other field they needed to have. And a single author could write one or more books. Before getting started, to make the most out of this video, you should already be familiar with Liquid, which is Shopify's template engine, and Metafields, as they are often used in conjunction with Metaobjects, like we'll do in this video. I've covered both of those topics already in the channel, and I'll be leaving links to those videos in the description in case you need to check them out. Now let's start by creating the Metaobject definition. To do so, I'll go here in Settings and click on Custom Data. If you have this menu grayed out, you'll have to ask the owner of the store to give you permission to access this. Now from here, I will scroll to Metaobjects, and I'll click here on Add Definition. Here, let's fill the name field with craftsperson, and this creates the type automatically, although I can edit it if I click on this button, but I'll leave it as is. The type is used to identify which type of Metaobject we are accessing from the code, and also if we needed to access a Metaobject globally, you will need to use the type as well. We'll see how to do that later in the video. Next, let's start adding the different fields that this Metaobject will have. I'll click here on Add Field, and here we see the different type of fields that we have available. These types are the same ones we saw in the Metafields video, so I won't be spending much time covering that here, as I already did in that video. I'll be linking it in the video description in case you need to check that out. For the first field, I'll select single line text, and this will be the name field. It has this checkbox to use this as the display name checked by default. The display name is basically the identifier for a Metaobject in Shopify admin. It makes sense to use the name as a display name, so I'll keep this checked. Here we also have the key. This is how we access this value from the code, from Liquid. We can edit this if we want to, but keeping this as name makes sense, so I'll leave it like that. We can also make this field required if we want to. In Metafields we couldn't, but for Metaobjects we can. I'll click on Add here. Next, let's look for File. And this will be the craftsperson image. I'll make this an image field only, so I'll unselect videos from this, and this won't be required. And lastly, let's look for rich text here. Let's name this bio, and let's make this required. Next, we have this storefronts toggle, which is what controls whether your Metaobject is accessible from your front-end code or not. I'll keep this on, as I'll be accessing this Metaobject from within the Liquid theme later in the video. Next, we have web pages, and this is used for creating a landing page for the Metaobject. If you want to make each Metaobject accessible from Google or other search engines, then you should turn this on. Here I'll do so because I'll be creating pages for the Metaobject later in the video to demo that. And here we are prompted to select a page title depending on the text fields that you have. In this case, I only have name, so I can select any other field for that. Then I have the description. I could select name or bio, but bio makes more sense for that. I can enable it in online store, which I'll do, as that is what will make it accessible from my Liquid theme. And then we have here the URL handle. So we can have something custom here, but by default it uses craftsperson, as that is the type here. But if we want it to be something else, take a look at how this is changing to something. But I'll keep it as craftsperson, as that's what makes more sense for this case. I'll click on save here, and we have the Metaobject definition created. Now let's create a metafield that references this. To do so, I'll go here, click on back. From here, I'm going to select products, and here I'll click on add definition to create a metafield. Next, I'll make the name craftsperson. This creates a namespace and key. This looks good. And then I'm going to select the type to be Metaobject. Here, I have to specify the type of Metaobject that this metafield will be referencing, in this case, craftsperson. And we can here select whether we want this to be a single entry or a list of entries. I'll keep this as a single entry for now. And let's click on save here. Now let's populate a few of those Metaobjects and then start referencing them from the products. So I'll close the settings menu here. And from the sidebar, I will select content. You may have this grayed out. Likewise, if you do, you'll have to ask the store owner to give you permission to access this part of the store. From here, I'm going to click on Add Entry and select craftsperson. Here we can see that name is the display name and that this red asterisk indicates that it is required. So if I try to save this without a name, I'll fill that last. Here let's select an image, such as this one, and let's add some bio. Let's put this in bold. If I try saving this, it tells me that the name can't be blank. So let's name this as person1. Here we have a preview of how this will look like in a search engine, and as we enable pages, we see here the URL for the page. And let's save this. Now let's create person2. And let's select one of these images. These are not people images, but this will do, as the idea is to show you how you can display one of those images in a theme. Next, this is the second person's bio. I'll save this. Let's format this with rich text so we can see some formatting when we are displaying this. And here we have them. As I made the name, the display name, this is how each Metaobject is identified in this list. So we don't see here the bio nor the image, we only see the name to be able to identify each one of them. With those Metaobjects created, let's start referencing them from the products. So I'll select this one and scroll down to Metafields, and here I'll select person1 and click on save. I'm also able to remove it if I want to, so this can be blank again by clicking here on clear. And now let's go to this product and let's link this one to person2. Let's save this, and now let's see what happens if we link the same Metaobject to more than one product. So I'll link this one to person1 again. And when we are accessing this from the code, I'll edit the Metaobject, and you'll see that it will change both for this product, that is referencing person1, and for the other product, this one, that is also referencing person1. Let's go to the code now. Now I have my store running locally, and I'll go to a product page. Now from the code, I am in main product.liquid. This is the section that controls what is being rendered in this page for the theme that I'm using, which is Shopify Done. And now I'll look for schema here. And right at the bottom of the section, I'll render product craftsperson, and I'll pass product as a parameter. Then from snippets, I'm going to create product craftsperson.liquid. I'll paste this comment at the top for good practice. And now I'll add a div here. I'll give it the page width class name, which is a container class for this theme. And let's add here, meet the craftsperson. And to access a value from the meta object, I'll do product.metafields.custom.craftsperson.value and then .name. So name is the key that I'm trying to access, but to get there, I need to prefix it with all of this. I have a typo here, meet the craftsperson. Now here I see meet the craftsperson, person 1, this is the name of the craftsperson linked to this product. Now let's display the other properties, so let's copy all of this. And here I'll access the image. I'll use the image URL filter. I'll give it a width of 250. And then I'll pass it to the image tag filter to render it. And lastly, let's render the rich text. So I'll paste this, bio, and I'll use Metafield tag to render the bio, as it is a rich text, so I'm required to use Metafield tag. And here we have it. It's looking good, but we have an issue, and it's that if I visit a product that doesn't have that meta field defined, we still are trying to render it. So to avoid that issue, I'm just going to enclose this in an if statement. I'll place this here, close the if statement, and I'm going to assume that this meta object is only available if it has a name property, as the name is required. That way, for this product, we are not rendering that section, but if I go back, for this one, we are, as it has the meta object linked in the appropriate meta field. Let's try with the other product that also has it, which I think it was this one. There we have it, person 2, the image we added, and this is the second person's bio. Now let's create the landing page for the meta object. For this, we'll need to open the local theme editor. To get there, I'll click here on Customize your theme on the theme editor. This will show this URL over here, and if you open that, you'll get something like this. Make sure that over here it says development. Now here at the top, I'm going to select the meta object type that I'm working on, which is craftsperson. If you don't see the type you're working on over here, click on Create Meta Object Template, and from here select it. I have this grayed out because I already have that template over here. I'll click on this and select the default one, which for now is empty. Let's add a section for now, just to have something to show. So let's show here this one from a previous video. And let's click on Save. Now from a separate console over here, I'm going to run Shopify theme poll, and I'm going to pass the -e and pass the development environment, which I specified in this file over here. This is pointing to this URL. And then I'm going to pass the -d flag, which means development, to pull from this development theme. Once this finishes pulling, I'll see over here a folder for Metaobject. And here I have craftsperson.json. Liquid themes generally don't support subfolders, but the template folder does. So this is why we have this over here. Now the template is created, but this file is empty because I accidentally put this section over here in demo section group instead of in the template, so I'll delete this. And from here, let's add image banner. This is a better section to have in a template. Let's click on save. Now if I run this command again, I should see over here the content for this section. For this template, we should include this section. There you go. With the template now created, let's create a section here. Metaobject section. This will be a simple section that will display some properties from the Metaobject and where we will loop through all of the products that are referencing this Metaobject. So let's create a schema here. Let's name this Metaobject section. Let's create an empty settings array for now and presets, where the name will also be Metaobject section. Let's have a simple text setting here with section message or something like that, just to get the theme editor working with this section. And for now, let's just display section.settings.section message. And here at the top, let's have an h1 with Metaobject, which in this case is a globally accessible object, value.name. So let's save this. And from the theme editor here, let's refresh. And let's add a section here. The name of this is Metaobject section. We have it here. This is a message I have. And this is not showing. Let's see. Maybe we don't need value here. Okay, that does it. Value is not necessary to access the properties of the Metaobject. You can just say Metaobject dot and the property key or property name over here. Now let's loop through all the products that are referencing this Metaobject. So I'll do for product in collections.all products, and then if product.metafields .custom .craft person .value .system .handle. System are Metaobject properties. They are under the system key because that way Shopify ensures that they don't conflict with other properties that you have. Now we'll compare that with this Metaobjects system.handle. The handle is basically an identifier for a Metaobject. Handles cannot be repeated, so they must be unique. Therefore, it is a better way of comparing the Metaobjects than by using the name property, for example. Now here, I'm going to print product.title. And here, I see the products that are referencing person 1. To get to this page, by the way, from localhost 9292, I added this path over here, which I got from the person 1 Metaobject page in the admin. Now let's display the image for these products as well. So let's do product.featureImage, image URL, let's give it a width of 350, and let's pass it an image tag. And then let's put this in a grid. So let's do style, display grid template columns. Let's do repeat, 3 columns, 1 FR, and then let's give this a gap of 24 pixels. Let's save this. And let's put this in a div as well. And there we have it. I used inline styles here to keep this simple, but if you wanted to style this more seriously, you should use an external style sheet. Lastly, let's display the craftsperson image over here. So Metaobject.image, image URL, with the width of 500, image tag, and let's say bio. Let's use a div here. Metaobject, bio, metafield tag, and let's make this an h2 too. Or no, let's have an h2 here instead. Products by this craftsperson, for example. And now we have it. Here we have the image for this craftsperson, which is just this snowboard. So I'm just showing you how to display the image. This is not a real person's image. And this is the bio for this craftsperson, which is a rich text. You can see that this is formatted as bold because we are using this metafield tag filter. Now let's link both pages together. So to get to the product page from within the craftsperson landing page, let's create an anchor tag here, and the href will be product.url here. Let's save this, and if I click here now, I'm in this products page again. Now, how do we link from the product craftsperson snippet to its landing page? Well, here I'm going to add an anchor tag as well. I'm going to copy all of this, and I'm going to say system.url. Then here I'll say visit craftsperson's page. Let's save this. And if I click on this link, I'm redirected to the craftsperson's page. Let's see if this works for the other product as well. So if I visit this product's page and click on visit craftsperson's page, I'm in the landing page for person 2. So this is working just fine. And after running any changes in the theme editor, remember to do a theme poll. So over here, we also get this section we just added. And here we have a Metaobject section. And with that, we covered the basics of Metaobjects, but there are still a few things we need to see about them which didn't fit in that example, but that are still important. Starting with accessing a Metaobject globally. So far, we've been accessing Metaobjects either by accessing one referenced from a Metafield or from the Metaobject object, which is available in the Metaobjects template. But there are instances where we'd like to access the data present in a particular Metaobject that may fall outside of what I just described. For those cases, Shopify has enabled us to get Metaobjects directly from within the shop global object, as long as we know their type and handle. Let's see how to do that. Now, I'm in main collection banner.liquid, which is what controls what is being rendered here at the top of the collections page. Now, let's say that I needed to access a Metaobject from here. So far, I haven't linked Metaobjects to collections in this store, so there isn't a way to do that through Metafields as we've seen earlier. And this isn't a Metaobjects page, so I can use that method neither. But what I can do is access it globally. So let's do shop.metaobjects. Now I'll specify here the type, which is craftsperson. Then I'll specify here the handle for the Metaobject, which in this case is person1. From here, I'll say the name. And let's see if this is working. There we have the name for person1. If I change this to person 2, I get here person 2. I can change name for bio, and if I use the Metafield tag filter, I should get the bio as well. Here we have it. Now, how do I get the handle? You can find the handle by going to the Metaobjects page, and over here, the last part of the URL is the handle, and generally speaking, the handle is the display name in lowercase and replacing each space with a dash, like this. Something else we can do with global meta-objects is accessing a specific meta-object from within a section. So if we look at the input settings for sections and try finding meta-object, there is no type meta-objects in the settings. So at first it might look like you cannot specify a meta-object from within the settings to access properties for that meta-object in the section. But there is a workaround thanks to global meta-objects. So let's see how to do that. Here I have created this dynamic meta-object section, which just has a single input for the meta-object handle. The section looks like this, just this basic schema, and here an h2 with dynamic meta-object. But now let's see how we can access the meta-object specified in this setting by doing shop.metaobjects.craftsperson, which is the type of the meta-object we've been using throughout this video. And here I'm going to say section of settings dot Metaobject handle. From this I'm going to access .name, and let's save this, and let's refresh the page here, and let's try using person 1 as a handle, and here we see the name for person 1. Let's save this, and now let's also render the bio, which follows the same idea. So here I'm just going to replace this with bio, and I'm going to use the Metafield tag filter. I'm going to enclose this in double curly brackets, change this to be a div, and let's save this. And here we have the bio too. Now if I input an invalid handle, such as this, then nothing is being displayed. For cases like this, it may be better to wrap everything here in an if statement and only enter here if there is a value for the name of this Metaobjects handle, because there is no built-in validation in the text setting itself to verify that the handle the user entered is a valid Metaobject handle for this type over here. So what we have to do is use an if statement instead. If I save this now and refresh, nothing shows, but if I use a valid handle such as person 1, then this shows, and if I change this to person 2, then this shows. Something else related to Metaobjects in the theme editor that Shopify recently added is the ability of referencing them from within certain text fields. For example, let's add this block over here, and if I connect this to a dynamic source and look for craftsperson over here, I'm able to access some properties, which in this case is only the name because it is a single line text, which is what matches the type for this setting. But here you can see that I'm able to access the name, so the craftsperson's name, and we see person 1, which is getting the name dynamically from the meta object. Now let's see how to access a list of values for a meta object field. So I went ahead and created this craft people metafield, and if we go to the definition here, this is of type meta object, but I selected list of entries instead of one entry as before. And here I'm referencing person 1 and person 2. So let's go to the product page here, And I'm going to do at the top for craftsperson in product the Metafields the custom dot craftspeople dot value, and I'm going to do craftsperson dot name, and here we see person 1 and person 2 as listed over here. I can also reorder this if I want, and after a moment that will propagate over here, and there you see it. Person 2 is now the first one and person 1 is the second one. Now let's see the mixed reference type of metafield. For this, I'm going to select this one over here, and I'm covering this in this video because mixed reference is relevant when you have meta objects in your store. So here, let's name this mixed reference metafield, and here, let's keep this as one entry, and it can reference either craftsperson or mixed ref example, which is a meta object definition I created a moment ago to illustrate this example. If we compare this to just meta object, here we can see that we can select either craftsperson or mixed ref example, but we cannot select both of them as we were able to in mixed reference over here. So let's save this. Let me quickly show you the definition for mixed ref example. So it is this very basic definition of a title and a number field. Now let's go over here. Let's add an entry for mixed ref example. And here, example for mixed ref. Here we see the handle, by the way, in case it doesn't have the landing pages enabled. This is what it will show. And number field, let's give this a 20, for example. And now let's go to this product over here. And let's link to this one. If I say this works. And if I want to change this and link to a craftsperson, it also works. Let's change this back to mixed ref. And now, let's try to access properties from it. So let's say product.metafields.make.custom.mixed. Let's see what was the exact key for this. Mixed reference metafields. Dot value, and then let's print over here system.type, because as this can either be mixed ref example or craftsperson, we have to do an if statement with the type to know which properties to access, because they have different properties. So if we try to access .bio for mixed ref example, we will not get anything. And likewise, if we try accessing .title for craftsperson, we won't get anything because craftsperson doesn't use the .title property. So let's say if the type is equal to craftsperson, let's render here. The value is the name. Else if the type here is equal to, let's say I have it printed here, mixed ref example, we are going to print this, but replacing name with title. Let's give the type there. And here I see the title property for example, mixedref. And if I change this to be a craftsperson, then it will access that name instead of that title. So let's refresh this. And here we see craftsperson, and it accessed the name to get person 2. And lastly, throughout this video, you've seen that I've been using the .system property to access a few special properties nested within it, such as type or URL. Those properties are documented over here in the Metaobject system object from Liquid's documentation, which I'll be linking in the video description in case you need to check this out. And that's it for this video. If you found it useful, remember to like and subscribe for more Shopify-related content, and I'll see you all in the next video.